We got big problems in the U.S. housing market right now. Banks are starting to take people's houses.
So many people in limbo, you guys. Foreclosures and short sales.
To target our homes is actually, it's inexcusable.
Whatever it is, we're trying to live the American dream.
Go Banking rates an analysis of the largest 200 cities in the country and identified 40 that are at risk of a housing crash, and 4 of them are in North Carolina. I'm going to tell you right off the bat that their research looks like complete nonsense. And I'm going to show you how I debunk sloppy research and how you can do it too, so you know which articles you can trust and which ones you can't. There is often a lot of chatter on YouTube about cities that are primed for a housing crash, but so frequently those estimations are based on very little economic data that actually impacts the cost of housing. But I had really high hopes for this one because this analysis from Go Banking identified real things that are happening that absolutely are indicative of the market being unstable in those areas. At least that's what I thought when I looked at the criteria, but once I started digging into it, I realized that they made some egregious errors in their analysis. So I'm going to show you which cities they recognized as having tenuous markets, what their basis is for their opinion, and then I'm going to show you why you should completely disregard most of this information. Seriously, throw it in the trash because it's not worth the paper or the pixels that it's written on. We're also going to look at which of their data points do hold water because some of them actually do, and when you see what I look at, you'll be able to better navigate the misinformation that is often out there about housing. The first thing I want to point out is that the North Carolina cities they say are getting ready to crash are not the most expensive cities. Far from it. They're actually some of the most affordable cities in the state. So when I saw this report, I was like, okay, great. It's not going to be your standard what goes up must come down. Maybe they're onto something. Go Banking looked at the following criteria when determining the most likely cities to crash. They looked at mortgage delinquencies, they looked at foreclosures, and they looked at homeowner and rental vacancy rates. In my mind, these are really great criteria. If a city has higher than normal delinquency rates, higher than normal foreclosure rates, and higher than normal vacancy rates, there is something going on and it is not something good. All right, let's take a look at the cities now. They are Wilmington, Winston-Salem, Greensboro, and Fayetteville. And here's where it gets dicey. Look at the data for Wilmington. Does anything stick out to you that might not make sense? And this is the first thing you should always look for when reading articles like this. It's kind of like when you did those math word problems in school. Does the answer actually make sense? This one does not. I promise. 84.56% of homes for sale in Wilmington are foreclosures? No way in the HE double hockey stick is that true, or that would be the leading headline on every paper in the country. When I'm reading these types of articles, I generally try to find their sources. If they don't mention sources, I just totally disregard it because nobody's got time for that. But this one mentions sources. Great. They got the information from RealtyTrack. So I go to RealtyTrack, I can enter in the city I'm looking for and the status. So I enter foreclosure, pre-foreclosure, and auction. That gives me 221 properties. Then I select to add to this group properties listed by real estate agents. And now I've got 242 properties. So according to RealtyTrack, it seems that the entire city of Wilmington, there are 242 total homes listed and 221 of those are bank owned or close to it. That would mean 91% of homes are foreclosures, which is pretty close to the number in the article, which makes me think this is exactly the process they used to get these numbers. Poppycock. Let's go to Realtors Property Resource. This is a national database for realtors that gives us a little more information than Zillow. You have to be a realtor to access this, but I'll show you what I find out. When I pull up everything listed in the MLS for Wilmington, right now I get 1,003 properties. Now, I'm sure this was just an error, but it was a pretty big one. And a big part of their premise was based on faulty information. Take a look at the claimed foreclosure rates for all 4 cities. Yes, I checked for you, and yes, the numbers are whacked in all 4 cities. According to RealtyTrack in Winston-Salem, there were 10 properties out of 369 that were not foreclosures. In Greensboro, there were 467 foreclosures and 1 that wasn't a foreclosure. And in Fayetteville, there were 506 foreclosures out of 587 homes. RealtyTrack appears to be a website that pulls the foreclosures into one place. I think the person gathering this data thought it was a listing of all homes for sale. They just misunderstood what they were looking at. Now, Now, if you're paying attention, and I know you are, you've noticed that the numbers from the Go Banking article and the Realty Track numbers don't quite add up. So I'm assuming they use different measures to get some of those numbers. But a report by Adam on national foreclosure said that Winston-Salem's foreclosure rate was dropping and that Fayetteville's rate was the highest in the nation. I'm not sure what's going on, but I don't trust this Go Banking information. Now, the rest of their criteria is actually pretty important and does show some issues, but again, it's not at all what it looks like, and they aren't telling the whole story. I'll show you what they're hiding. They got their data about mortgage delinquencies from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and you can see here that the Southeast is pretty hurting with mortgage delinquencies right now, or at least that's what it looks like. This is Raleigh with Durham right next door. Both Raleigh and Durham are well below the national average for mortgage delinquencies, so they're looking great, but Fayetteville is about 36% higher with a 1.5% delinquency rate. Wilmington's lower at about the same rate as Raleigh, and Greensboro has a 1.7% delinquency rate, and Winston-Salem is the highest at 1.8%. So far, Wilmington is not looking like it's in trouble at all, but because basically two of their main criteria are irrelevant. Did I say irrelevant? Yes, I did, because when it comes to delinquency rates, you have to look at the historical trends. So now let's look at the hidden data that they didn't show you. In January 2020, before COVID hit, delinquent mortgages were sitting at 2.2%, which is exactly double the rate of the most recent data in September 2022. Do you look at that graph and say we really should be concerned with mortgage delinquencies? I certainly don't. You've got to put these things into historical context. Now, the latest data is pretty old. A lot has happened since September 2022. Could there be more delinquencies now? Sure, but these writers showed no proof of that. I went digging and found Black Knight's report showing that mortgage delinquencies were at historic lows nationally as of March 2023, which is a lot more recent. Now, let's look at 90-day delinquencies, which is another one of their criteria. Here's a look at Raleigh compared to the national average again, and Raleigh is significantly lower than the national average, which is at half of its previous peak in January 2020. So we've just debunked 3 out of 4 of their criteria. All right, we gotta look at number 4, vacancy rates. What do you think? Tell me in the comments. Is it all gonna be smoke and mirrors? Let me know what you think. I wanna remind you that I have the absolute best real estate search site in the Triangle. If you're looking for homes anywhere in the Raleigh area, you wanna go to harmonyrealtytriangle.com, or you can call me. If you need a trusted agent in any other location, feel free to message me or call me. I know lots of fantastic agents out there. Now let's look at the vacancy rates. Guess where they collected this data from? All right, I'll tell you. They collected it from the 2020 American Community Survey. Let me read to you how they organize that data in the American Community Survey. This is from census.gov. The ACS estimates do not represent a specific point in time during the collection period, but rather a pooling of the data collected during the entire period. For one-year estimates, the ACS uses data collected in that calendar year, January 1 through December 31. Similarly, the 5-year estimates use data collected over a 5-year period. For example, the 2016 to 2020 5-year estimates will use ACS data collected from January 1st, 2016 through December 31st, 2020. Go Banking doesn't tell us if this is a 1-year or a 5-year estimate, but best case, the vacancy rates are from the year 2020. Worst case, they're a compilation of the survey data from 2016 to 2020. Now, I have no idea what vacancy rates are currently like in these cities. It could be much worse than what they're saying, or it could be a lot better. The important thing is that we don't know what they are. Am I overlooking some serious data set that I just didn't see? Tell me in the comments, but for right now, you can call me crazy, but I don't think any of these cities are crashing. Do you? If you like this video, you should watch this one about the North Carolina cities that people are fleeing, and in that one, there's some real stuff happening. It is not a bunch of smoke and mirrors.